Welcome back to the home of all things ballroom dance. As you may know, I have taken a ton of coaching in my dance career from many U.S. finalists, U.S. champions, world finalists, world champions, from a wide variety of countries. And I have noticed over the years that there tends to be kind of trends in how the people teach from these different countries and areas of the world. And I thought you might find it interesting if I shared that with you. Before we dive in, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our ballroom dance friend, Azaday, who donated today to my daughter's school fundraiser. They're raising money for new playground equipment and new equipment in their STEM lab, like robotic stuff for the kids. So I can't thank you enough. If you'd like to donate, I'm going to include a link, in the description below. Totally voluntary, but 100% of the donations do go to the kids. Just make sure to tip $0. The site will automatically tip itself, but you can go in and manually adjust it. If you're feeling generous, put in 1 cent. Anyway, Azaday also won in like a month or two ago. I did a ballroom dance kind of giveaway of all sorts of different dance products, and she won the Latin skirt. Sent a picture today. I gotta tell you guys, cute as a bug's ear. Looks great on her. So I was just so excited to see that. Okay, let's dive in. Firstly, the majority, and again, I've taken from many coaches, but I would say if I had to pick one nationality that I've taken the most from, it would be British coaches. So I'll dive into kind of how the British kind of teaching method is first, as well as Scottish, I should say, but I'll say British Isles. So I do find that the British coaches, compared to all the other nationalities, tend to focus least on the follows part. And I can't even tell you countless times I would hear these words. I would ask a question and they'd literally say, "You're just a girl, you follow." I'm not making this up. And so sometimes they literally would never teach me as a follow anything. So this may be a generational thing because this tended to be much more noticeable in the kind of the older they were, the more this came out. But in my opinion, if you watch the old Blackpool videos and how people competed kind of back in their heyday when they were champions, the ladies are just following. It's quite different than the dancing today, and the dancing has evolved greatly. If you haven't, do yourself a favor. You will be wildly entertained if you look up some really old Blackpool videos to see how much the dancing has evolved. Similar to ice skating, if you looked at a video from 60 years ago, wow, she did a single Lutz. And, these days they're doing quadruple Lutzes out there. So now that the ladies do at the championship level, or even good social dancers, they're not just a sticky pad on him. They're actually co-piloting. They're really informed about their role. They're very actively leading their part on the second half of the figures. And I use the term lead liberally, but they are responding with power, okay? And this ultimately results in more power, more rotation, more flight, more light and shade, and the speed of the movement. Now, don't get me wrong. These were and are all excellent coaches. I learned a ton from them. I treasure every lesson I got to take. But in all honesty, from the British coaches compared to other nationalities, I did have to do quite a bit of reverse engineering in terms of what technique they were teaching, how that would apply to my movement. Also, for the record, I don't feel that they use the term girls part in a derogatory intent. But it is, to me as a native English speaker of my generation, a bit of a diminutive term, particularly when I never once recall hearing them say the boys part, even if they're teaching children, they say the man's part and then the girl's part. But if they're teaching, say, a 70-year-old couple, the man's part, the girl's part. And it's not that the term girl is disrespectful, but it is, the term man is much more respectful compared to the term girl. So if you are, say, a native Japanese speaker, this would be no different than me teaching a couple and calling him Tanaka-san, and then in the lesson referring to her as, oh, Makiko-chan. It's not derogatory, but it is a diminutive. It's a slightly less respectful way to say it. Polite, but less respectful. So interesting. Interesting difference. It's also funny, guys, compared to all the other nationalities. I find the British to be the funniest. They actually have great senses of humor, which you wouldn't expect if you don't ever, leave the United States. They look very straight-laced. When you see them on TV, very formal. We just kind of see snapshots of the royal family, but that's not how I'll say that the majority of the society is. And in fact, often, especially the older ones, use kind of dirty words when they're speaking to you in terms of body parts, and even kind of vulgar analogies. But honestly, guys, with that really proper British accent, it just makes me want to laugh. I don't know, when they say it with that accent, it doesn't seem offensive to me. It seems hilarious. If someone said that same thing to me with like a white trash accent, I'd probably think like, how dare you? But it is, to me, very funny hearing it with that accent in that really formal environment in their suit and stuff. But, in all honesty, the analogies make sense, and it has enhanced my learning. So I don't regret hearing it presented that way. Maybe they were intentionally kind of poking buttons to engage my memory better. It's possible. And we have talked about that in previous videos in terms of the areas of your brain and how you encode memory fastest. And if you engage that emotional part, it will actually help you remember faster. So I don't know, maybe that's like a psychological, intentional teaching approach. I don't know, it just occurred to me right now. Okay. The next most common nationality I've taken with, not surprising, is American coaches. And I include Canadian with American. Again, I with all respect to Canada, love Canada, great competitions up there. I'm just gonna say American because America is a continent. It's actually two continents. It's not just the United States, although I know usually people just refer to it as America, but I'm talking about Canadians here too. I find, and this might sound weird, but they smile the most. Okay, so they're not so much in their words, but in their body language and their expression. They tend to give more positive feedback and affirmations during the lesson. Also, compared to other countries, and again, in all these descriptions, guys, I am painting with a broad brush. Ultimately, every individual coach is different. But overall, I do see the Americans do a lot more, I'll call it excited shouting, if they see something they like. I don't recall ever seeing that from someone from another country. I'm sure it exists. It's just, I have seen certain nationalities yell in disgust, disliking what they see, but the Americans do tend to be very vocally just animated, gregarious, when they're teaching compared to these other cultures. I also find them to be comparatively very humble. And more gentle in their approach than most other nationalities. The American coaches are the only ones I've seen also that occasionally will go give you like a couple extra minutes of lesson. I've never seen this from a coach from any other country, either as a visiting coach or when I go to their studio. So, I don't know if they're just generous or if that's how they were taught, or guys, maybe it's just a cultural thing. Maybe we're not quite as rigorous and must stay on schedule as some other countries. And I am a type A personality, so for the record, I have total respect when someone ends that lesson on time. I hate being late. I am always at least 15 minutes early to my lessons, usually like half an hour. So I have great respect for people being on time. I also find, at least in the Americas, the foreign pros that have moved here and reside here kind of permanently or semi-permanently, and they are successful pros living here, although they are from another country, they tend to take on that American approach. And that's probably necessary for them to cultivate clientele here, is my guess. I suspect that the Americans are teaching this way just because that's how they get the best results the quickest. And almost every ballroom dance teacher I know, all my friends are trying to teach their students as fast as possible, get them as good as possible, for the least time, the least money. That is the end game. Okay, guys. I, once again, have gone over my 10-minute mark, but I have a lot of other countries I would love to address here, so I am going to continue this in another video. Not tomorrow. I like to mix it up a little bit, but rest assured, I have some more countries I want to dive into because there's definitely special ways they each kind of go about it. So thanks so much for joining me today. Thank you, Azadeh. Also, thank you, Pippin, for donating to my daughter's school. Again, I'm going to put that link below. No pressure. If you do, that would be much appreciated. STEM is her favorite class, and like any kid, recess is probably her favorite part of the day. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. If you guys have questions, please comment below. It really helps me identify future topics that I should kind of expound on in this channel, because I don't want to come here and waste your time. I really want to I do want to share stuff that's most interesting or hopefully even helpful to you. If you're too shy to post, hey, shoot me a private email or Facebook me. It's just Sunny Page. It's a personal page. Message me there. And I'm happy to answer questions there as well. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share a couple minutes with my ballroom dance friends. So guys, I look forward to seeing you in the morning. If you like all things ballroom dance, hit the subscribe button. Okay guys, have an awesome night and happy dancing. Bye guys.